Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, What is Hyperautomation and Why it Matters? Hyperautomation is the #1 trend on Gartner's list of top 10 strategic technology trends in 2020. And we have two experts from the automation world here today with us, Jorge Soares, CEO of ABP Consultancy, and Chris Duddridge, Area Vice President, UK&I of UiPath. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat box in your control panel, and I will pose your questions to the speakers at the end of the webinar. So without any further delay, over to you, Jorge.
Thank you, Ntika. Hi all. Thank you for taking the time to join us on this webinar around hyperautomation. As Ntika said, my name is Jorge. I'm the CEO of Agile Business Process, ABP Consultancy. ABP is a company with 6 years old, specialized on automation. We are based in the UK, London, and we have office a little bit all over Europe, from UK, Ireland, Portugal, Spain, Denmark for the Nordics, and Israel. I'm very pleased to have here today one of the persons that I respect most on this automation space, Chris Duddridge from UiPath. I will let Chris introduce himself. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining.
Morning, George. Very, very flattering. So, yeah, thanks. Chris Duddridge, MD for UiPath in the UK and Ireland. So I represent the business for UiPath that focuses on supporting our customers and our direct go-to-markets. I also have the privilege to support our customer success teams, pre-sales, and most importantly, our partners who have helped UiPath go from a small Romanian startup, what feels like only a few years back, to now where we sit with a truly global team servicing our customers in pretty much every region that's conceivable. So thank you for inviting me and thank you for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. It's really impressive to see the journey that UiPath went through all these years. Chris, the topic for today is hyperautomation, okay? I know there's a lot of tons of buzzwords in the markets, mainly where we operate in terms of automation, from digital transformation to automation to intelligent automation to hyperautomation. And the feeling that I get is this is getting confused for clients and even for partners and for everybody in the market. So the idea is to demystify the term and try to understand what it can bring to clients and why it's different from what we have been doing. So in terms of your understanding, what do you think hyperautomation means for the industry and for UiPath, and what you think would be the relevant points for our audience and clients around this?
Thanks. I think firstly, hyperautomation isn't a term that's yet loved by everybody because of that reason. It's not yet fully understood what it encapsulates. But I think there's a really simple way to kind of describe it. We love the term hyperautomation because, you know, coined by Gartner, but most importantly, I think covering the breadth that now is all of the aforementioned technologies and capabilities, from RPA through to intelligent document processing through to, you know, connected technologies and AI. It's everything. But as you'll probably be aware of, you know, we've quite heavily expanded our platform capabilities from outside of the core capability of orchestrating digital capabilities. So, you know, our entrance to the market was around, you know, orchestrating unattended robots to manage tasks for customers under the water and sort of behind the scenes to remove manual, repetitive, voluminous work. We then brought to the market, you know, attended automation and providing employees within organizations digital assistants to remove, you know, the tasks and challenges that they had on a daily basis, from keying, you know, data from Excel spreadsheets into systems of record, understanding and ingesting documents, or simply just reacting to inbound inquiries and handling them very efficiently. But of course, when you couple that technology with you know, process mining and task mining, of course, that becomes the front end to helping organizations really identify, from monitoring their system processes and their and the way in which their people work to identify how we can, accelerate their automation capabilities by tackling more tasks. And essentially the word hyper does work there in terms of more scale. But of course, when you add to that the capabilities that are now available through testing, that are really key as automation scales out, that again expands our platform. And on top of that, every possible conceivable tool that is available in the market through all of the AI technologies and complementary technologies, and even all of the platforms that every customer uses on a daily basis, from Salesforce to SAP, even their DevOps environments in AWS or Azure. I think there's no better term to actually pull that together than hyperautomation, because it's really taking what can be automated and accelerating that and putting it on steroids. So, again, I'm not sure that demystifies it anymore, but for me, it's trying to consolidate all of those capabilities into platforms that address the biggest possible opportunity for businesses.
I completely agree. I also like the term, and it's clear, and when it comes to clients, it's a message that we've been trying to pass for a long time, is that there's not just one remedy for a problem. Okay, there's multiple ways. We need to understand what the business problem is, and then find the right combinations of technologies to address that. So it's never a problem just one technology. It's a problem of approach and how you combine different capabilities to get to the point that we want to achieve. So that's great. Thank you for that, Chris. So I think you answered my next question a little bit in terms of what it differs from the RPA, pure RPA play. So I'm going to twist it a little bit, and how is RPA or how is the core capabilities evolving inside UiPath? There's a lot of new announcements, new products around machine learning and AI, and so you are clearly on a path to embrace this journey, right?
Yeah, you'll have to keep up, Jorge, as I do. And that is a really great problem to have for us, is that we have such an amazing product development arm. We're a technology company supported by our partners to go and deploy with our customers. But I suppose I can come back to the comment. RPA addresses known problems. If you in a center of excellence, or even an individual, has a big problem of managing tasks that have such a huge overhead to them, but actually not an enormous amount of value to humans keying that data in, RPA is a logical answer. And yes, it is. There are other ways of addressing inefficiencies in the business, but RPA has already gone through its prove out stage now to being a hugely valuable organization, a hugely valuable tool to any organization. But for me, it only addresses the knowns. And so, what's happened historically is organizations such as ABP, all of the global GSIs, every organization who is set up to deliver value to their customers and help them accelerate digital transformation. They've landed on that kind of that really important capability, which is obviously delivering that using RPA. But what they're not potentially, or what they haven't previously been able to do, is implement and provide technologies to help the organizations farm and find all of those other opportunities. And that's not necessarily me leading on to talk about process mining. It's more about setting the organization up to be an automation first business. And so, yes, it could include process mining, but actually for me, tools such as Automation Hub, which is simply a platform that's created to allow organizations to ideate, discuss, and develop ideas around what else could be automated. That is where the technology that we've deployed, to help those COEs scale and find more candidates for automation is really valuable. But for me, I would take it away from being a technology answer and talk about it as being a operational opportunity, because many organizations are now really pushing hard on on structuring their business correctly to address the huge demand they'll have for automation. It's not going away, and actually it is the inefficiency in business which needs to be resolved. Otherwise, the future can look relatively scary for some organizations, because they'll need hundreds of more people to maintain the old processes. So actually, for me, the biggest operational opportunity is for organizations to think not just about getting a COE, putting in somebody to own automation for the business, but actually to think about how you structure all of the important priorities, the pillars of automation, which includes having the capability and the skill set once you've found the challenges to go service it, which is obviously a big part of where you come in. But also that's kind of one part. Also, it's the things like the funding that's required to then go and deliver that, the infrastructure requirements in terms of integrations or just access to systems and subject matter experts. And there's a whole host of other considerations. But for me, sponsorship is key as well. So that's another big opportunity for organizations operationally.
Thank you, Chris. I think you are spot on that, and from our perspective, we completely subscribe what you said. I think the majority of our clients, they need help understanding, after they understand the technology and they test the technology, how do they scale it? And I really think it's impressive, the work that UiPath has done, perceiving that and developing tools to allow clients to scale in a rational way, understanding where the priority are, what the opportunities are, and to be able to go beyond the scope of RPA and combine with document understanding and combining with task mining and process mining and the app. So really, for us, that's the scope of hyperautomation. It's starting with a business problem, starting with a portfolio, starting the opportunities, and then go from there. Cool. Thanks a lot for that, Chris. In terms, this is a very odd periods with COVID. We see companies struggling around the world. We see people struggling around the world. So this is really a different area. How do you think these technologies and to simplify hyperautomation can help in a world during and post-COVID, I would say? What is going to change after all of these?
I think the first thing to say is, for us, the crisis obviously amplified the problems in organizations and with individuals in the workplace. And I think if I can kind of unpack the question correctly, we sort of went into a mode as soon as the crisis hit of trying to help, not sell, if that sounds like a terrible thing to say coming from a salesperson, of course. But the help we were giving was education more than anything. UiPath is founded on a spirit of democratizing the capabilities, democratizing the technology in many ways, so that it's accessible to all. But that doesn't go far enough, unfortunately, to be able to go and really help people and businesses and organizations and the public sectors around the world when these crises hit. The demand on us as a business just accelerated so unbelievably in such a large number of different ways. The first one I probably pull on is within the health sector. We found ourselves, helping organizations to try and remove the administrative burdens from frontline workers. And in the instance I'm referring to here, nurses who were then required to go and populate an unbelievable amount of paperwork, for the World Health Organization and for their own kind of internal systems. And we took that upon ourselves as a bit of a personal challenge to see if we could go and help them resolve their challenges and help them do their jobs. And that was great, because that gives us a feeling of accomplishment. It was probably help first and then think about the commercial opportunities later. And it has paved the way to us seeing how we can help more. But actually, even if you talk about large financial service institutions where they went from one day having a relatively stable business with a lot of predictability to then suddenly having forbearance exercises and a very large proportion of their customer base financially affected and needing support. Now, that is a huge challenge to take on. Yes, you can throw people at the problem, but there's only so many hours of the day staffing phone lines that you can actually address the volume of people that are looking for a payment holiday. So actually, robots stepping in to take that unprecedented demand just created such a large efficiency gain for big financial services institutions. But the important point there isn't about necessarily helping the financial service provider that I'm referring to there. Actually, it was about the customers, because they were in dire need of making sure they had predictability of their finances and they could take advantage of the payment holidays that were necessary. So speeding that up and making that more efficient had a positive gain to customer and a positive gain to the companies that we support. But there's a risk and compliance angle as well. You probably have heard me harp on far too many times about the 4 key pillars of automation. Accelerating digital transformation, improving employee experience of using the systems that are cumbersome, but importantly, improving customer satisfaction by the direct benefit that you get from having more efficient systems and processes. But the last one, which I'll come back to, is the risk and compliance angle. I won't reference it here publicly, but we know of a very large bank, and it was public information, who hit an enormous fine for not servicing and supporting their customers properly when the pandemic hit. And that is actually something that could easily have been addressed using automation to take away the problem that they hadn't seen before and to remove the risk of huge fines or compliance issues. And I suppose, I know I'm covering a lot of ground in those answers, but for us, that the opportunities created from the pandemic, I think just really amplified the problems that were already there before. And I think every organization has to prepare for for uncertainty in the pandemic. And so if you're trying to maintain old processes that just simply are untenable now that the real pressure is on, then automation does serve a purpose for many of those challenges. It's just having those discussions, speaking to experts, understanding what, if anything, can be done to alleviate those challenges. And for us, I'm kind of glad we're here to help, because that for me is what we really care about. Thank you, Chris.
I also on the supplier perspective subscribe what you're saying in terms of during and post-pandemic. We see a major shift in the understanding of the importance of automation, mainly on our existing clients, the ones that were already investing in automation and had the perception that they needed to do something different in order to scale and survive. Some of them with cost and with efficiency, some on focus on compliance and risk. So we see a tremendous attention or a growth on attention around automation and a huge investment on those topics. And I think post-pandemic, that will be also a trend that we're going to see happening. We probably will have other momentums, economic and also and others that could have also a big impact on the health of our companies. And so automation is definitely the way to go. Okay, good. Understanding how the platform evolved in the last years, from a pure play RPA platform to a full hyperautomation. I think you guys now covered the, if not all, 99% of what could be the tool belt for an hyperautomation platform. Can anyone help me understand where is Bypass going now? What's the next step?
There you go.
It's $1 million question.
Crystal ball stuff, that.
Yes,
I think, because if you look at the breadth of our platform, we're not stopping. There is a, there for us is I suppose two themes. One is around core RPA capabilities, because they still remain probably the largest opportunity when people are getting started, to continue to find anything that can be automated and automate it at pace, because the I talk about ROI of RPA being addictive. It should be, you know, and that definitely becomes more addictive when you have a really strong top-down sponsorship and strategy, because as soon as the boards are able to see the return on investment that can be delivered just by removing inefficiency using core RPA, it's incredible. But of course, once something's addictive, you want more of it. Okay, and so you want it to sustain, you want it to be maintained, and you want it to continue ad infinitum, not only as a kind of a year-on-year cost efficiency, which always remains, but also accelerates. Because you know, if the ROI sort of dissipates or tails off, or is only a kind of a one and done saving, then what's the future for RPA? You know, what's the future for intelligent automation? And you kind of referenced a couple of products, so I'll kind of talk about that in a bit more detail. Document understanding, you know, one of the biggest challenges in organizations to this day, PDFs, signed documents, 10-year-old contracts, you know, invoices from suppliers who you've only just set up on your, that takes more work than I can often imagine. I come from a background of ERP, so you know, I saw the volume of you know, of documentation that comes into the accounts payable team, and I know how much work that takes for people who have ridiculous levels of qualification. You know, to go and peel off the pertinent data, key it into a system of record, and then repeat that process again 500 times. I can't imagine, you know, people who went and did years and years and years of accountancy qualifications to then be forced to just key data into systems all day. So you know, document understanding presents that next platform capability to really help you ingest all of the semi-structured, rule-based information into the systems and free the people who are required to be tethered to their keyboard, keying that data in, to focus on more productive stuff. I've probably spent the last 10 years talking about having having people in accounting roles turn from being data processors into financial planning and analysis, you know, and again, the value that brings. But there's all the softer benefits, in fact, harder benefits that come from, you know, document ingestion as another capability, which is, you know, if you can speed up the time to cash or the day sales outstanding on your invoices, the ROI on top of the automation and efficiency gain is ridiculous. As you know, improving DSO by 1 day, you know, in a FTSE 100 organization has an unbelievable effect on an organization's cash capability. So again, there's something to talk about from document understanding. You know, our platform has now turned from being, you know, an operational orchestration tool to being an analysis tool now, with the introduction of insights, where you can actually overlay your entire automation suite with a really powerful BI capability. Not that's, you know, having to be configured from the ground up and tell it what you want it to report and in what sections, but knowing what we know now of the many years we've done it, exactly how your automation estate is operating, and show you where these returns are being delivered. So again, we're going to invest heavily in the BI space and continue to kind of drive value to the customers to see what they're achieving, and help the sponsors of the project see why the value was so high and what the value was. But if you can think about, you know, the technology is one thing, and of course you can talk about process mining, you can talk about task mining, and most importantly, you should not forget about testing and continuing to test RPA to make sure you have, you know, forever more resilient RPAs. You know, that platform is going to continue to evolve and expand at the rate that you've seen for the last sort of 2 years, and it's very exciting. But actually, where we will really evolve is with the delivery capabilities and with the experience that is now available in the market. You know, we've got everything from school leavers who are able to go and you know, learn how to be a business analyst or an RPA developer, or a very advanced RPA developer, and every other skill in between, including all of our product families, all the way through to, I mean, people like ABP, who've spent the last, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years working on growing their capabilities to support customers in every different vertical to go and address the opportunities quickly. And we've had to remember that as a business, we have an obligation on making sure that that skill and that capability in the market isn't something that is hard to come by. And that for me is where I think we'll continue to grow our focus on top of the platform, which is ensuring we have the most engaged community, the most educated partners, and the most open rituals to bringing more people into that family, to mean that in 2, 3, 4 years time, you are not joining a queue of people to get resource to go and help you, address these opportunities. And for me, that is a parallel investment that is so important, because technology is great, but it is nothing without the skills to go make it work.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. It's precious insights in terms of where you guys are looking into the market and how you plan to evolve your platform. I would like to emphasize the training and the skills issue, because I believe it's really distinguished for clients the fact that they have access to a tremendous amount of training in different roles for different levels of expertise, and that's key. All of our successful clients are the ones that took the time to develop the skills, okay? And developed skills, it's not only about developers, it's about creating a community that understands automation and knows where to apply it, identify the right use cases and what the technology should be applied on those use cases, and how to massify that investment in terms of practice, methodologies, usability, and competence, and involving the partners like ABP or others, where it really makes a difference to make them scale. Now with the fact that with Studio and Studio X, we can have really a community of citizen developers using technology. It's important to guarantee that they do it using the proper skills. And so I really think that is an essential point for success. And that takes us to the next point of our conversation, right? Is now that we explained a little bit better what is Hyperautomation, what tool sets are the ones that we should look into, and the importance of the skills, a lot of our clients ask, okay, but where do I start? I get it, okay? I know that I need to invest in automation not to release people, and we need to demystify that. We need to guarantee that our people and their skills are applied on the right stuff, and we can do more with the people that we have. So if a client comes to you and say, Chris, where do I start? What's your tips here?
There we go. Where do I start? That's almost my response. I think I'll be honest with you, nobody typically will come to me and say, where do I start? And has zero awareness. But if they do, then I think fundamentally it's about going back to that understanding what can be achieved, because we don't want to make assumptions. This is not a packaged technology, whilst there's so much so much content and reusable components that have been created to get people started. It's really about understanding their own business and their own priorities. You touched on my least favorite subject, which is the job disruption that's created by RPA. We still believe that the intelligent automation, hyperautomation, RPA is a net job promoter. It's a bit It's a bit cloudy now with obviously COVID being a real pressure on jobs. But actually, if the person is coming to me from within a business, it's about discovery, and it's about not only discovery that I would need to do to understand where they have the biggest challenges. It's their own discovery. If they really are coming to me to say, I think we need to automate, but I don't know where, then of course I can provide them, and anyone can provide them with a plethora of examples around where to start. So, talking about where to start, finance and accounting. People have, for the last 10, 15 years, been in fact longer. Automation is not something that's just been created in the last 5 years. Let's all be very clear about that. But actually, there are hotspots: finance and accounting, HR onboarding. Even just thinking about the way in which they handle their kind of client engagements within their contact center, and how they ask their people to work in terms of accessing data, and do they have to get them to log into 15 different CRMs just to get one piece of information? There's just probably a never-ending list of questions that can be asked of the person who's coming to me to say, where do I start? But there's also a million questions that they should be asking themselves about what they want to achieve. For me, they have to understand, what they're trying to improve, and it goes back to those 4 points. Is it simply that they've not got the benefit from the investments they've already made in their CRMs, their ERPs, their practice management systems in legal and accounting, and really they don't have workflow capabilities within the business that can help them remove the steps in a process or remove the human touch to that? Or is it that they want to improve their customer experience and make themselves more accessible? That's going to take us down very different routes depending on where the problems are. And if I'll be honest with you, where I prefer helping and where I prefer addressing is when it's customer focused. Where it's we want to improve the experience our customers get when they phone into our contact center, because you can immediately understand the journey that their people are going on to service those customers, and ultimately, where to start is a really interesting conversation as well, because most people I've heard when they talk about that subject is just get started. And I've heard that so many times, just get started on something. And I would really, really struggle to find an example of an organization I'd speak to that wouldn't have even just one idea of where the process that they follow internally is ridiculous and unnecessary. So again, I hope I answered your question. It was a bit of a woolly response, but
no. I agree, and we feel exactly the same. Not only on the spaces where normally people have a lot of opportunities in finance, procurement, HR, but also the ones that involve clients and client service are the one more meaningful, and where the impact can be greater in terms of the quality of the service that we provide to clients overall. So that makes complete sense for me. What we also have been seeing is after clients give their first steps, and probably we're going to talk about a little bit one or two topics that we already covered, but emphasizing that because I believe it's important. After I did the first pilots, the first projects, we see some clients with difficulties to scale. Okay, and to move from the initial 5 to 10 process and get to really an enterprise initiative. Do you agree with this statement? Is this something that you also see happening? And how is UiPath helping clients to give that second jump in terms of their automation journey?
I've never been a big fan of the way that everyone talks about scale. We work very differently, I believe. I talk about this often from a customer success perspective, because our customer success teams, they're not focused on selling licenses. They're focused on how utilized the technology is before we would need to sell any more capability into that organization, or we'd need to service another problem with a new product. For me, scale is around it is personal to each organization, because every organization has a different kind of potential with automation, and it's maybe based on the number of employees they have in different functions. It's maybe based on the biggest problems that they're there to service. But for me, scale is around how much of the opportunity has been serviced, and you can really only find that out when you've invested some energy in doing some proper analysis of the inefficiencies in the business. We talked about process mining earlier on. That's a tool that can be used to go and literally farm the existing processes that are running and tell you where the inefficiencies are. The output of that can be actually it's not as big a problem as you thought, and complementary technologies, or just automating sections of the process, or maybe putting in a kind of a human in the loop process that would take away half of the drudgery of the work, but actually still have the human users involved in QA review and exception handling. Can really help people get to an understanding of where their problems are. But scale isn't about number of processes. Scale isn't about number of robots, in my opinion. Scale is around how saturated, how developed, and how complete can you automate the inefficiencies within the business. And like I say, some organizations, digital native organizations, they still have automation opportunity. We still work with organizations who are e-commerce businesses, because they've still got dog's dinner back-end processes from time to time, because it's just how the world works. But they may not have the same scale as a 100-year-old insurance company has got, who's got 15 different systems that they use internally, and have acquired 4 or 5 different companies that have not been properly integrated into the core business processes. Scale for me is personal, and my biggest priority, my biggest objective, and I know that's the same feeling for you, is to make sure we really assess that with the customers to help them understand how much they can address. We've invested a little bit in sort of helping our clients from a, I hate the term, but value engineering perspective, because that really helps them understand where can they get the biggest value from automation and from hyper automation, and helps them paint that picture so that they can gauge what scale looks like, and it can be very different for very, very different organizations.
Makes complete sense. But there's also a misperception in the market around the types of processes that we could tackle with these types of technologies, and it's not just low-hanging fruits in terms of processes, right? It's much more than that. And do you agree?
I fully agree. But again, there's different ways of looking at it, because some of the biggest opportunities happen from things that you don't have any predictability on. I was talking to another one of our technology alliances who manage sentiment analysis of the inbound emails. They don't know the volume of work they're going to receive until they hit their inbox, and their biggest opportunity is to capture that at the very front end, so an email that comes into the business, and to triage that into the organization. And so yeah, I do fully agree. It's not always a low-hanging fruit. It can be unknowns. It can be, and it can actually be really exciting, and it can teach even the most tenured and experienced business people about actually where their businesses could do with a real revolution in terms of how they can service their customer demands. So yeah.
Cool, thank you. In terms of when we start, what steps do you recommend your clients to follow? Should we start with big automation programs, or do you have is there I won't say established, but a validated practice or the number of steps to get there with from just a small pilot to? What would be your thoughts on this?
So we have lots of different types of customers who come to us directly or come to us via our partners. I think we've had customers who've started with the most complex automation first, because they're the biggest problem they have, and the value to unlock that opportunity is worth the investment.
Yeah.
Worth the investment. However, typically, if they're very new to the world of intelligent automation and hyper automation, they might not have the internal skill to go and develop that. So it's very, very different based on where you're at on the maturity curve of understanding the your own business. But it can be getting some quick tactical wins, building internal capability, through training your own people and learning up. Or it can be attacking the biggest opportunities. For me, the most important place to start is the skill capability that you have within the business. If you see a valuable enough opportunity to automate, but you don't have the skill, you can buy that in. I wonder if you know anyone, Jorge.
I have some ideas.
But the skills are readily available externally, and I think we're lucky enough to have amazing partners that know that sometimes there might be long-term engagements for customers to start them from ground zero to long-term scale. And sometimes they're just there to augment their capabilities to get them started and to kind of do a knowledge transfer while still addressing the big problem. It doesn't matter really, in my opinion, whether you do it, with third-party external resource or whether you try and build and develop your own team. You've just got to stay focused on how quickly do you want to remove the problem that you have, and so then it becomes a case of buy the resource or develop it.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. We really see clients with big, massive, I would say, challenges that can have a quick impact. So they go through the hard stuff on the beginning to tackle that problem, but the majority and what we recommend is that the clients start to experiment and use the tool, have quick results to be able to quickly demonstrate the benefits of what the technologies and that approach can bring to the organization, and leverage on that to be able to scale. We also developed on our side a lot of training practice for clients, because we believe we have a DNA from clients. I was a client for a long time before I embraced this journey. And it made all the difference to know that I could count with companies like ABP to augment capacity, but not be 100% the capacity itself. And even sounding strange, because I might be competing with my own services, to have an informed and educated client that has the right skills to demand from suppliers like myself and our company to do the important things and things that make sense. I think those are the clients that will have the successful stories. So I completely agree. It's something that we stimulate our clients to do, is to develop. And thanks also to UiPath Academy, that's now very easy to do. Cool, Chris, thank you. We talked about Hyperautomation, how the platform is evolving, how to help clients start probably picking the crystal ball again. And it's never easy to do it in IT, and probably the future of IT is yesterday, because everything moves so fast. Where do you see the market going, and what can we expect from UiPath?
So I think the market, and I'll spare you from regurgitating all of the analyst content, but let me just answer it in this way. The market's growing, and it's growing in front of our eyes, and there's a substantial number of players in the market. Whilst I know there's often some prominent players, every organization that has been offering technology that offers that automation potential, has a seat at the table. Whether that be, as I say, around players that have their own discrete document understanding technologies, or sentiment analysis, or chatbots, all these things, that they will continue to grow capabilities with clients who are just testing certain capabilities. You've then got that next tier up, which of course are the platform players. And I talk about us as a sort of a platform vendor. So we're able to address, I would say, as closely as you could see in the market, end-to-end requirements, while still needing to leverage, our partnerships with the ServiceNows, SAPs, Salesforces of this world, because of course they're the technologies that are ultimately holding the valuable customer interactions, customer data, and all of the stuff that's needed. So I think that there'll be an even bigger evolution and swell of all of the different providers in the market, because as people understand, you can service only so much using hyperautomation. You're still going to need to really invest in other technologies that service your particular company's industry challenges. I think that's going to grow, and the technology alliances you see, from ourselves and other partners, and from all of the other players in the market, will grow. So I think technology alliances and leveraging that will become even greater. What I do think as well is that if you think unattended automation and the manual repetitive work that's removed and thrown into in kind of under the water and dealt with, once that's serviced to a pretty high level of scale and saturation, where to next? And for me, it's into accelerating attended automation, digital assistants, a robot for every person, a digital assistant to support disabled workers, digital assistants to support every citizen in the country, in the world, to go and take out the crap from their lives that we all hate doing, filing your tax return, taxing your car, doing whatever it might be. I think attended automation, from its concept to now its understanding, will just scale unbelievably fast. It is a very convenient addressable market because, of course, the target addressable market is very large. Every person that works for your company, every person that works for UiPath, every person that works for any company. And of course, that's why I believe it will scale much quicker. But I'll tell you for why, because that is even more addictive. If you can remove 20 minutes per day from let's say from a professional services company, from a lawyer, from an accountant, from an architect, from an engineer, from somebody whose time is money, you can understand how quickly that becomes an even more addictive thing to provide for your people, because they'll use that productivity gain to service customers better, to increase the margins that are available on the engagements they do, because they can still deliver a fixed fee engagement, but in a quicker time to delivery. And so I think that just using that as one example, when you think about everyone else and what a digital assistant could do for you, I think that's where the growth will be unbelievable. I think Studio, I'm talking about our products here now, but let's maybe talk more about Citizen Developer rather than our own products. Citizen Developer is then the next logical explosion that happens beyond that. Empower people with a digital assistant. I have conveniently a UiPath robot sitting here that allows me to OCR flat documents and to provision trial environments for customers, not in 10 clicks and a new case, but actually in 1 click, and the results are provided back to me. But if I could then go, hang on a second, George, there's a better opportunity here. This is something I do every day. I run this sales report. I run the RevRec processes to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. And it often takes me 10, 15, 20 minutes to make sure I've run through everything and checked it. But actually that's the process every day that I follow, and I can record that, and I can then submit that to my COE, because I know there's another 300 of me inside my business that could really find that valuable to have automated. But actually, if as a citizen developer, I can go and record that process and even build the workflow that's necessary to remove that one task from me and 300 other people, citizen developers then become the gold within each organization, because they have a passion for removing inefficiency. And if you can have, let's say, everyone in the organization, or at least a large number of representatives that are finding and identifying inefficiencies and fixing them, well, there is where attended automation just explodes. And I'll spare you from going into what that then looks like for contact center, what that then looks like for all the different industry sectors. But that's something where it's an empowerment rather than a big overwhelming project to undertake. And the great thing is that there's customers doing this live today, and they are referenceable, and you can see about what they're achieving. That draw on technology and that drive towards that will be the big explosion. And I could talk for hours, as you know.
Me too. Chris, thanks a lot. Okay, thank you for your precious time and feedback. I think it was great to not only talk about UiPath and the great journey that UiPath have been doing along the years, but more than that is to understand from your experience what would be the right journey and the right topics for clients to focus and where to turn when automation is becoming really even more a hot topic in the market today. So with no further delays, and I know that we overcome a little bit the time, Tika. So do we have questions for me and Chris to answer?
Thank you, Chris, George. That was really insightful. We have got a couple of questions coming in.
Can I make a parenthesis, Tika, before we continue? Just first of all, to thank everybody that is attending the webinar. and thank you for the time. We decided to pre-record this first part because with COVID situation, we never know what could happen on that day. For example, I'm locked down in London when I should be in the different office with the same outfit as Chris is. So that's why we decided to do this first part recorded and then do the second part live. Cool. Chris, thanks again. It was awesome. We have a couple of questions.
Thing, though, George, I had to wash all this same outfit again to make sure there was continuity this morning. So just to be clear, I can't believe you didn't let me know before you did that. So,
I was this morning looking for my shirt and oh damn, I left it in Lisbon.
I even made sure my plant was in the same spot. So anyway, sorry, let's get back to being professional.
Great,
so
great.
We've got a couple of questions coming in, George, and the first one being that we've talked about hyperautomation as a mix of technologies. The question I think is asking what these technologies are, what technologies are involved in hyperautomation, and if we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, it's very tough to answer that question, frankly, because when I think we've improved our understanding of the key players in that technology or connected or complementary technology sphere. When we look at it, we do look at it from a sort of a platform perspective at the top. So you look at the huge players in the market. We'll all be familiar with the ServiceNows, SAP, Salesforce, Oracle, you name it. And in fact, many of those can also become the sages of this world, and Wolters Kluwer's, and basically the main systems of record providers, from CRM to ERP to practice management through to infrastructure, etc. But beneath that, when it's conversational AI, whether it's document understanding, whether it's chatbots, whether it's machine learning specific to a particular industry, whether it is, I don't know, insert others, there is a cluster, process mining, sorry, just to be clear, there's a cluster of hundreds of other technologies which can be brought together with hyperautomation to deliver value where your organization needs something slightly different. To my mind, I think we've equipped our customers to best leverage AI and complementary technology, because we started off with a mentality to keep everything open, open source, and build and incentivize our community to build connectors, repeatable components that can be available in our marketplace to leverage those technologies in seconds. But I couldn't name every single one of them, because even when I look at the slide that gives a few of them that we work with, you have to really squint your eyes to understand there's hundreds of them.
Yeah. We also have been having RPA as a starting point. We have been combining to different clients in different use cases, multiple technologies. To give just a couple of examples, we have been using a lot robotics with document understanding, so capturing data from invoices and then having robots executing actions after that, normally going to systems of records and storing the data from those invoices. We have been using RPA with AI services, like, for example, IBM Watson Assistant, to create chatbots, and then robots underneath are executing the actions and responding to the requests that the different internal or external clients have been doing to these companies. We have been integrating robotics with pure play BPM platforms to guarantee that instead of human tasks, we have robots executing tasks in the context of a wider processes. So there are multiple combinations that can be used to solve a business problem and to get to the outcome that we want to achieve. Okay, so feel free guys to contact us, either me or Chris, and get some of the use cases where we are doing this. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Ntika, do we have more questions?
We have more questions. Maybe we can take just one more. There's one around, I guess, integration with legacy applications, and they're asking how quickly can you see the ROI of hyperautomation with legacy applications, and does it work with green screen applications?
Well, I mean, I was waiting for the expert to answer. You go first, George, first.
Okay, so it's really easy to integrate with those systems and old systems of records, and in some cases it's really recommended that instead of trying to touch those applications and trying to create big automatisms out of it, we can use robots to more tactically or more strategically to interact with those platforms due to the risk or to the lack of knowledge that sometimes we find in a lot of organizations around it. So it's quite easy to use those platforms, to integrate with those platforms, and to be able to input and extract data, even with heavy load environments.
Yeah, I think that answers most of it. But just to be definitive, the answer is yes. Whether it's forget the technology. If you can click it, drag it, enter data into it, or send it. And of course, RPA can be used. But where you've got tools such as old green screen technologies, absolutely, that's actually one of the strongest capabilities that UiPath presents. But not only that, within the green screen technologies, but also non-persistent VDIs, Citrix environments, native Citrix. This is actually our technical skill, and sometimes we forget to talk about the technical side of how comprehensive our integration toolkits are, and how very little our computer vision technology can't see. There are always limitations, but typically we have great ways around those using different methods in our studio tools, and we're improving them every day. But with those specific scenarios, actually, I think you've got a huge opportunity, because I'll just finish on a very quick story, which is, we had a global car rental company who frankly, it would cripple their organization to go and replace all of the terminal operations across the globe. There's literally thousands of kiosks in every airport across the world, but actually overlaying their green screen booking system with automation, RPA, and creating a new user interface to present the data to the user to simplify the customer experience. Unbelievable in terms of what return they could get for relatively minimal investment as well. So green screen is I'm sure it's not everyone's favorite, but again, it's something we can do a lot with. We'd love to talk about that.
Chris, a big thank you for the time to participate on this webinar. I really hope we had a lot of clients, some brands that are already our clients, others that aren't attending. So I hope that everybody took a little bit from these to their own initiatives. Again, a big thank you, and to the rest of the audience, also a big thank you for participating. The next one, we'll estimate to do a next webinar in around a month from now with Paddy Power. They have a massive automation initiative with a lot of UiPath technology also involved. So next time we want to bring a perspective of a client and how the client was able to embrace the technology and scale it, not only on their Irish operation but all over the world. So I hope you guys enjoy that also and register for that. So a big thank you. I hope to see you soon. Good luck, and please be safe.
Yeah, thanks again. My pleasure, George. Obviously, thanks for making me watch myself for another hour again. And, actually dressed up especially for it. But no, it's my pleasure. And of course, we remain here to support. But it sounds like if you've got a customer talking, they know a bit more about it than we do. So I look forward to tuning in for that one. So great. Thank you for that, George. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.